Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean Episode 2. So the first episode was a very good start. It kicked things off well, but pretty much every first episode of JoJo does. No matter what part it is, everything usually starts off pretty strong, but gets stronger. The first episode is never like spectacular. It's never amazing. It's never like the pinnacle of JoJo or anything. It's only there to introduce the characters, the plot, the general idea of what's going on, while showing us a little bit of the bizarreness and fun that we can come to expect. But we know it's going to ramp up from here. In terms of first episodes for each part, I don't know if I would say this is my favorite. I would probably still say part 4 is better. And I would say part 2 probably has a stronger first episode as well. But that's just based off of first episodes. Who knows where it could go from here, and honestly, I'm just saying this like off the top of my head. I would probably have to see them all again. The only one I've seen just recently again was the first episode for part 1. Because I started watching Boom Sentai's reactions to JoJo, so that's the only one I have fresh in my mind. I know the gist of what happens in all of them. It's just, don't remember everything. I would have to see them again. But yeah, so we got introduced to our new main JoJo of the part, Jolene Kujo, the daughter of Jotaro. And so far, she seems kind of sassy and fun. Like, she definitely has personality to her. Unlike the last part's JoJo. She seems like she's gonna be an interesting MC and have a lot going for her. We'll have to see for sure though. But the main gist of episode 1 is that after an accident when she was in the car with her boyfriend Romeo, she was imprisoned due to the death of a pedestrian they hit. She ended up getting sentenced to longer than expected because information had been left out by her lawyer, notably that the victim was alive still when they disposed of the body. And so she was sentenced to 15 years. But she did get revenge on the lawyer at the end. But she still wants revenge on Romeo. She still wants to get out of the prison because she technically is innocent for the most part. Yes, she disposed of a body, but again, she was not aware that the person was supposedly alive. And honestly, that's even questionable if it's true. Because we saw what happened to the victim. That person was hit by a car and then hit so hard they flew into a tree branch and was wrapped around it. It's very likely that person was dead and that the entire thing about the person being alive was a lie, just to kind of pin things, I guess you could say, on Jolene. In order to enact the plan that the lawyer had with Romeo, because of Romeo's father being, rich. That's what I've been thinking about since I recorded the last episode. Was that even real, or was it just something that was thrown in to get Jolene locked up on the plea deal to keep Romeo safe? hard to say. Hard to say. We don't know all the information. We'll probably find out at some point. But a big gist of this is that now Jolene is in prison and has to, well, deal with things. We already seem to have one ally in Hermes Costello who seems really cool so far. And there's multiple other characters in the opening who could be potential allies, including one who just straight up is shown like grouped together with Jolene and Hermes. So there's that, but I don't know when characters come in or how they're introduced or whatnot. So, but I'm very much excited to see what they have in store. Obviously, Jotaro is going to appear at some point, being Jolene's father, and just, you know, he tends to appear in every part at this point. At least to some degree. Like, his appearance in part 5 was very minor, very small. Just appeared in a couple scenes talking to Koichi over the phone, but he was still there. Koichi's appearance was very small too. He was only really at the beginning. But you get the point. So he's probably going to appear. And considering Jolene is his daughter, it's probably going to be a bigger role than Part 5's was. Probably not as consistent as Part 4's, though. We'll have to see. And speaking of that, I found out something. Jolene is 19 years old. And based on the year that this series takes place, that means Jolene was actually alive during Part 4. She was like 7 years old during Diamond is Unbreakable. That's interesting to me because I didn't even think about that. I didn't even consider the fact that Jolene was probably alive during the events of Diamond is Unbreakable when Jotaro was in Morio. That's fascinating to me. I didn't like necessarily expect like anything to be said there or anything, but I wonder if that'll be brought up at any point. Like maybe like that was when he started abandoning the family or stuff, because it seems like Jolene has a lot of hang-ups with him and talks about him just not being there and all based on the first episode. And in the dub, I don't remember if it said it in the subtitles here, but in the dub they did make it very clear that Jotaro and his wife did divorce. So there definitely seems to be some familial troubles, which is not out of the ordinary for the Joestar bloodline, as we've seen. I think the only one who has been entirely faithful, well, only two, I guess, were Jonathan and Arena. They're the only ones who didn't have any kind of troubles, I think. Like Joseph, we know, had troubles. I mean, that's how Jotaro, or not Jotaro, Josuke came to be. We know there were some issues there. And Giorno, there's definitely some things going on there, considering technically he has two different biological fathers, which is like still a little weird. It's just like there's familial things going on there. But I am very excited to see where this goes. I don't really know if I can say like any kind of theories or any ideas, because all I really have to go is they're in prison. Someone at the end of the first episode had the pendant which has the shard of the stand arrow in it. And that probably is just going to be how the various prisoners and all get their stands and how this part basically happens. So the question just kind of goes to, what is going to happen. How is this going to affect things? Like, who's going to be the bad guys? We're just going to kind of have to see. We don't have enough information yet to really form any real hypotheses. We're just going to kind of have to see. But like I said, I am excited. I am very interested to see exactly where this goes and what they do with it. So, in the comments below, I want to hear your thoughts, not only on this episode, but where you think this is or could be going based off of what we have got in episode 1 and with this reaction episode 2. Obviously, no spoilers if you've read the manga or know what's going to happen, but just tell me, like, what, based on these first two episodes, let me know what you think could be the case here. I know it's weird for me to bring this kind of thing up in the pre-thoughts, but just thought I'd mention it here. Either way, we're going to get this started, hope for the best, and see what episode 2 has in store. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, yeah, this was a very interesting episode, and a very good, I feel, first episode, like, within the prison. Obviously second episode of the show, but first episode, like, within Jolene's sentence. We got our first stand user. We got a little bit of information on how this prison works. And we found out some interesting stuff as well. So, Jolene is brought to the prison and finds out how everything is working around there. It's a very free and open prison. During certain periods of the day, you have basically free roam. You can go to the library, you can work out, you can basically do whatever, it seems. Kind of operating on the idea of American freedom, as the warden put it. And it's a really interesting concept that I don't know if that's realistic in any way. I don't know if there are prisons that do shit like this. Again, I know there are prisons that have libraries. I know there are prisons that have workout rooms and break rooms in general and stuff like that. I know for a fact that some prisons do, some prisons don't. I guess it just depends on the prison. But it's like, I don't know if I've ever heard of a prison that has, like, a free roam policy like this, with just, like, certain areas off guard. Or, off guard, that's the wrong word. Off limits. Why did I say off guard? Well, certain areas off limits. That's a weird policy, I feel, for multiple reasons. But we'll see how it goes, at least for the case of this. It seems like the prison is on an island, so it's like one of those kind of things we've seen in various other media, such as the raft in Spider-Man. There's only one road, it seems, or maybe, I guess, two, one going off, one going onto the island, so unless it's the same road, it might just technically be considered the same road, but either way, it seems like it's not super easy to break out of still and all. But Jolene is brought to her cell and introduced to her cellmate, Gwess. And Gwess seems to have some personality issues, going between kind of nice and cutesy to very insane at the drop of a hat. Though it might just be her, admittedly, it might just be her being a dickbag. Which I think she's a dickbag anyway, but. So Gwess has this bird that she keeps in her pockets, and it seems very fucking weird. But at first you think, like, okay, so she probably has a stand. What's the deal with this? We'll figure it out. So Jolene ends up seeing her treating the bird really fucking weird. And so she saves it, but finds that the bird is a corpse filled with what appears to be the dead pieces of a tiny human. And it's implied that the human was alive when Gwess was talking to the bird, and that she had killed it before. She had killed them before Jolene was able to save the bird. So Jolene and Gwess get into a little thing where we find out what Gwess's stand is. Goo Goo Dolls. A stand that, very much like Little Feet from Part 5, can shrink things. However, unlike Little Feet, it doesn't work on the stand user. So that seems to be the only notable difference that I can tell, at least. Unless maybe the entire distance thing also relates to that, but I don't know if it was a distance thing in the first place. I'm not sure. Because that was just Jolene guessing anyway. But either way, we see Jolene get caught by Gwess and be forced into this rat carcass to be used as a costume for her to sneak into the control room and break them out of there. However, things go poorly when Gwess is caught and told to leave, which apparently might be the cause for Jolene starting to grow again and breaking out of the rat carcass. She manages to sneakily get out of the situation, but gets caught by Gwess and gets into a little bit of a fight with her, in which Jolene manifests a partially full form of her own stand, which she names Stone Free. So we get Jolene's stand, we get another enemy stand, though Gwess might be a good guy, or at least neutral now. Unclear what the idea with that is, because they're still cellmates, that's not going to change, but probably just more neutral, unless at some point they do have to, Gwess does have to ally with her. We'll see. But yeah, we even see some very Jotaro-like actions and phrases from Jolene. She says, "Good grief." She does the entire punching chant thing. I don't know exactly what she was saying. I don't think it was Ora Ora, but I'd have to go back and check it again. It's just like, yeah, she's very much Jotaro's daughter. I can dig it. There were some other fun things in this episode, too. First off, we found out that Gwess got the pendant, along with the Shard of Stand Arrow, from Hermes Costello. And yes, I will keep using her full name. I really like her name. It's a really cool name. But apparently at some point Hermes got a hold of the pendant. We don't even know if she was like the original person who brought it into the prison or not. We just know at some point she got a hold of it, sold it to Gwess. So that probably means that Hermes already has a stand too. We didn't see any of Hermes in this episode though, so we don't know for sure. But yeah, we also see the warden a little more in this episode than last one. He's still fucking weird looking. And apparently he has a puppet, an alligator puppet named Charlotte, and it's like, what? Why? He's a terrible ventriloquist unless he's angry, apparently, in which case he actually somehow becomes good all of a sudden. And it's like, what? And I don't understand at all, but the puppet is honestly super cute. And it's like, I'm kind of into it. But I don't understand why the warden would have a puppet. It's like just a really weird thing to add in. But it's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, so yeah, kind of should expect that. Um, and also, speaking of cute, like I said in the reaction, Jolene in the rat suit was honestly kind of adorable. Um, it was just a really cute design. I used it as the thumbnail and all. And speaking of designs, Gwess's design is another really cool one. There's some really interesting designs. You can see them in the opening and stuff. I don't know. After part five, I was expecting designs in this part to be a lot more bombastic and weird and bizarre and wild and everything as well. Like even more so than in part five, but they actually seem to scale back a little. They're really not that weird. This is more. I'd say this is more akin to part four designs, which are actually pretty normal, all things considered. For the most part, there's some exceptions, but they're really not that weird of designs. Like, there's some flashy colors and whatnot, a few little things here and there, but like you look at Gwess's design here. Let me see if I can bring it up. I'm not going to show it on screen because for some reason, even showing images on screen can sometimes be an issue with copyright systems. I don't know why. But like, if you look at her design for Gwess, like she has some tattoos on her face and she has some like a stripe on her lipstick, but that's not that weird. She's wearing some kind of hat that's like not a full hat. It's like a headband with like little straps going down instead of like a full top to a beanie or whatnot. She has a neckband, not completely a choker, I would say, but some kind of neckband, and a jacket over a tube top. It looks like it's a really normal design. Like there's not too much odd about it or anything. Honestly, Jolene has a much more unique design comparatively. But she's also main character, so she has a little bit more reason to. Like even Hermes Costello, like her design is very standout, but it's not actually weird or anything. I'd say the weirdest part of Gwess's design are her boots, which seem to have like these like almost metal-looking plates on the front. Obviously, they're not metal because apparently they're not allowed to have metal objects and stuff. Which makes sense. I get that. But that also realizing that makes the pendant contraband, right? That's not allowed because that I assume metal of some sort. So I wonder if that'll ever come up as an issue. But yeah, this episode, even though it was centered around one thing, which is Jolene meeting and having to deal with her cellmate, it gave us quite a bit to sink our teeth into and quite a bit of interesting, fun stuff. The biggest thing that I think is going to connect going forward is the fact that Hermes Costello is the one who sold Gwess the pendant with the stand arrow, and that apparently, I guess, Gwess doesn't have the arrow piece anymore, or maybe she does. Again, unclear, but it seemed like she didn't. So she might have sold it, so that might be going around. We'll have to see, or I might have missed something. It's very possible. We did see the photo. We did see what happened to that. But I don't think we actually saw what happened to the arrow, unless I was, again, missing it, which is possible altogether. I don't know. I'll probably watch this a couple more times. I mean, SOS Bros do reactions to this on the weekend now, so I'll see their episode 2 reaction on Saturday. And I'll probably check out a couple others here and there, and maybe just watch it again in the dub on my own time, just to see the dub voice for Gwess and all. Yeah, I'm very much enjoying it so far. But again, we're still at the opening part of this for sure. Not much is happening, and we've only got 12 episodes to work with right now. So there's a lot of room to grow well beyond this. This is only the first act, you could say, of the series. Either way, though, I do thank you all so much for tuning in. Like I said in the pre-thoughts, tell me down below where you think this might be going. But if you do know, like if you know where this is going based on the manga or whatnot, no spoilers, please. I do want to remain spoiler free, but just a discussion about things is fine. As long as there's no like full spoilers or anything, and you guys tend to know what I consider spoilers, so either way, thank you so much for tuning in, and for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.